happy today. I am William Brown from IamWilliamBrown.com. This is Disconnect to Connect One Word Conversations. One Word Conversations is a self-discovery relationship building conversation designed to invite you to look at your language. Many times we can come up with all the wonderful words that we can think of and still find ourselves in a place of disconnection, mainly because words don't just come with definitions. They come with emotions, they come with energy, they come with expectations. But what I am proposing that we have a one word conversation so we can learn more about ourselves, the person that we're speaking with, and just maybe build on our relationship. One More Conversation is brought to you by IamWilliamBrown.com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. One way that I spotlight what's available at the I Am William Brown store is our U cards. Our U cards are a part of our Beyond the Shell series. Our Beyond the Shell series is 2 children's books, Finding You Beyond What Protects You and The Journey to Stay You, and the You Journal, You Are Complete. So the cards that I picked for this conversation are I Am Enough, You Are Complete, and I Think You Should Just Do It. So with that in mind, I invite you to like, share, ask questions, do all those things to let me know that you are also a part of this conversation. And then we can go from there. So the word that we have for today is step. There is this word comes up in my coaching. My coaching framework is step 0, and I just wanted to see what step means and how it is showing up for me. So as I do, I invite a guest in so we can have a conversation. Happy today, my friend.
Happy day, Bill.
This is the moment where I invite my guests to introduce themselves however it feels comfortable to them.
Well, again, thank you, Bill, and good morning, everybody who's listening. I'm Bryan Walsh. I am a person that has been through many steps in his life and really looking forward to discussing these things with Bill and with you all. And I've I'm in a place of step right now, and the word is very present in my life with many steps to be taken and many steps to review. And I'm definitely looking forward to creating more peace and more love for myself, and just really give myself more credit than I usually do.
Right. Oh, I totally feel that, and so I appreciate you. Sometimes, when I pick words, like this and assign words to people, I I don't know how that's showing up in people's lives, and I think that's the one thing that I got from doing this show, for over a year, that we use words and we don't know how the words are showing up for people, and there is this intentionality that I want to have within this and this sensitivity about this as we move in this conversation. So thank you. So, I mean, you mentioned step. So how does the word step land for you?
Well, it's definitely landing. Um, I'm about to start a new career journey. It just so happens that on Monday the 26th is my last day being with the same company for almost 9 years. And,
Mm.
there was a lot of great steps in that job that have brought me to, you know, understanding of owning my career, understanding it's up to me to really own my skills and work on them, and to take the steps necessary in order to make an impact.
Right.
And the other part of it is that, you know, I just turned 47 years old
Mm,
this past Monday, and it was a big step. And realized that in 3 short years, I'm going to be 50 years old.
right.
And really, am I taking the steps to enjoy life, enjoy, my happiness, and enjoy, my whatever I can bring to the world? Am I
Mm,
enjoying it and taking those steps and doing that?
right. You know, I, I guess before I move forward, I want to let you know of something that just came up for me is that this year I turned 54, and my 47, um, there were some steps in there. There was some major steps. There was some, and I was just like, "Oh Lord," and you kind of brought me back to that. But it's because of the those steps and because of those things, it allow me to be here today. Um, a couple weeks ago, I the word was obstacle, and it feels like the same way, that step is that most of the times when I say obstacle, I don't just say one. There's like they have like friends, right? There's like there's like there's more to this, and it's the same thing with step. It's like you don't just take one step, right? It's there is steps to be taken, and so there is that s that's coming along on that journey, and I think that the reason why I chose step instead of steps within this is because in order for us to have a series, I'll speak for myself. In order for me to have a series of steps, that first step needs to be intentional.
Yeah.
There has to be that understanding, that appreciation, that confidence, that assurance, that first move, that first step will allow me to take the next step, and then the next step, and then the next step, and then it's a series of steps that is creating what I want. But it's that intentionality, and I think within the U cards that came up, I think you should just do it. It's
Yeah.
like it's like uh-oh, there's some steps, there is a step that is showing up with that. So what's coming up for you in that?
Well, I definitely agree. And when you say that first step, I think of my nephew who just turned 1 years old. Well,
Mm,
he's a year and a half now, but I remember getting pictures and a video of him taking his first step, and then he kept going and moving. And I look at life that way. You know, all you have to do is point to the direction and get up, maybe from crawling,
right,
and take that initial step. And then, sometimes that initial step is, taking that parachute off and
right,
just jumping out the plane. And, you know, you know, finding out that I was going to lose my job was pretty hard for me,
right,
and it was emotional. And, over the last 60 days, it's been more understanding, that it's not me.
right,
You start evaluating yourself and say, what could I've done better? What could I've done? And letting go of that was a step for me.
right,
And not letting the gossip and not letting the, rumors or anything else drag me down from moving forward and taking that, step of, having a peaceful, it's like a breakup from
right,
any relationship. And after you've invested so much in that, It
Right.
it's taking that step to say, is this really working for me? Is
Right.
this where I really want to end up? And the answer is I don't know, but
Right.
I'm willing to try and take that step of whatever comes next. I'll be ready to jump in. I'll be able to be somebody that I know has great skills
Right.
and is willing to change effectively and take steps necessary in order to be at my top performance.
Right. I totally get that, and I appreciate it. Within the framework of my coaching, um, most of my coaching is called step zero, right?
Mhm.
So step zero is the step that we take before we take the first step.
Yeah.
And that's awareness. And I think your acknowledgement that, yeah, this is difficult, yeah, this is painful, but I have, a big old toolbox.
Yeah.
And there is this vast opportunity. There's a lot of different directions that I could step, right?
Mhm.
But even in how there's a quote of Joseph Campbell that says, if you can see your path in front of you, if you can see the path in front of you, that's not your path. Your path is the path that you're willing to make, and take every day. And too often, I think in our life, and I think we're conditioned to go a path, go someone else's way, go the way that they, and what we get on our path, relationships, jobs,
Yeah.
all those things, you know, there is some attachment to that.
Mhm.
Um, but I have found out for myself that there were many paths that I have been on that had nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
And it's like I'm just stepping on someone else, and it's just like, and then because I've had this moment, to stay in this analogy, I've had people say to me, "Hey, nothing personal, but I want you to get off of this path." And it's
Yeah.
like, whoa, 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 wait a second. you know you know One, what do you mean it's not personal? This because this is going to affect my life.
Yeah.
you know um and and um really being willing to carve my own way, to figure out that those next steps, that next step. And there's a great book. I don't know if you've heard of it. I use it in my coaching, and I read it last year, in January, after the pandemic started, and everything. And it's called Transitions. And there is, what I remember, there is like three stages. There is an ending. There is this neutral time, and then there's a new beginning. And what the writer was saying in that book is that many times that there's an ending that happens, and we
Mm.
skip over that neutral, that time of reflection, that time of grieving, that time of whatever needs to happen in that period, and look for the new beginning. And then it causes, um, as I say, missteps, because we are not really complete the process of the transition. We're still in transition, thinking that we're in the next new beginning, and we can't fully embrace the new beginning because we didn't have that neutral. We didn't have that time of, like, what the hell, right? Right,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and and just go from there. So yeah, it's like, um those steps in between, the new beginning, are those are important steps.
Yeah. And the thing is I think as humans beings, we, and I'm generalizing here, so, but as human beings, we always want to be at our best, and
Right.
sometimes these things, whatever your adversity is,
Right.
and whatever is, we get stuck in that adversity and we become victims of our circumstances.
Right.
And I totally agree with you that, I'm the type of person that will skip that step. I'll say
Mhm.
my goodbye and then jump to, okay, what am I going to do tomorrow?
Right.
And the big picture is, I think, in that neutral part of this. And I'm definitely, I personally am going to take that neutral. And you know I to be vulnerable here is that, saying goodbye to some of my clients was very emotional. And
Right.
in fact, I broke down and cried on a couple of those calls.
Right.
And then I went on vacation. I went to the Outer Banks this
Mm.
past week and really found peace hearing that ocean, and
Mm.
kind of used that as my grieving. And
Right.
so when I had the opportunity to say bye to my teammates and to, my managers and things like that yesterday, I at my whole mindset had changed. I thought I was going to be emotional and tear jerking, and
Right.
but I was steady, and I the step that I took was to recognize those who got me to this point
Right.
and to honor them, because without them, who knows what steps I would have taken and how
Right.
long my longevity at my job would have been,
Right.
because they taught me well and they gave me, their opinions and their best ways to perform, and I took it and I shined for quite some time. And that's how I look at it, is that the next person that I work for, whether it's myself or if it's a new company, or employer, they're going to see somebody who is ready to shine and be, taking the steps necessary to be a productive person.
Yeah, I totally appreciate you sharing that and just having, not knowing what, emotions can come up. Sometimes we just don't know. Where there is, for me, there is this activity of, of life, just kind of like being in it, and it's like, holy crap, there's an emotional attachment to this. There is this there is something, I really care about these people. There is something going on, and just being um okay with sharing that. The other thing that I was reminded of, you're a return, you're a return guest, and our word that we had before was forward.
Yeah.
And it's like, sometimes I feel these conversations are these um ethereal, kind of philosophical, or just kind of just, oh, it's, what does step mean, and just kind of be there. But there is this, on the court, dealing with, this is my freaking life.
Hmm.
This is how this word is coming up. And so I am reminded of, the word forward, um, and step. And so there's a mindset, because when you were talking about, I think your nephew, I heard nephew, I think that's what it was. You,
Yes.
that's a year and a half. That what went through my mind is like, I don't think, as a baby, you're like thinking about, am I going to fall? Is this the right move? Is this, what is my mom going to think if I take? It's just like, I'm crawling, now I'm walking, right?
Yep. Yep.
And that's, it is that type of thing. And I wonder if, because of, I believe, there's that step zero, within that baby moment, is that, you know, I'm a baby. This is what I do, right? Right?
Right. Right.
And I am, because when I think of my kids, I have adult children now. When I that process of, not walking to walking, there was very little walking. It
Mhm.
was, I'm crawling, now I'm running, right? You know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
and then it's like we're chasing them, right? It's like these feet work, and I am going, and I think what I'm getting from that message is that once we have that intentional forward, um, what step are we going to take? Then it's on, you
Yeah.
know, and I just there was this encouragement and excitement. I guess the younger self, the little Bill in me was like, yeah, that's what we want to do.
Exactly.
That's what this time is calling for us to do, in that, and just to decide what step we're going to take and then run.
Yeah.
Right? You know.
Yeah. Yeah. My
Wow.
my the thing that comes to me with that is, it used to be run like you stole something, right?
Right.
But as a kid, Bill, you know, I didn't speak much until I was about 2 years old, and the only word I would say was hi.
Mm,
And so I would drive my parents absolutely crazy. I'd be like, "Hi,"
mm,
but I would. They had to base. They had. I was that kid that had that leash, so I wouldn't run away. I was
mm,
so excited and so full of energy, yet I couldn't communicate well at the time. And so
mm.
my parents had a leash for me. And the story that goes is that I took the step to jump over. I climbed over a 6-foot fence in the backyard, and that's how I ended up.
Wow.
Yeah. And scared. It was a moment of where I scared you know the crap out of my mom, and
Right.
so they got me calmed down and everything. But I took that initial step, and I don't remember the step that I took, but I just remember my parents saying that I can't leave the yard anymore, and stuff like that. And I think that's what it's about, is sometimes you gotta jump over that fence, take that
Right.
step to jump over the fence and see what's on the other side, and feel the grass on your feet, and
Uh,
then run with it.
right. Right. It's kind of, what I got. It was like the thought through your mind of, you know, I don't know if it's like what's on the other side of that fence. I don't even know if that's what the thought was. But from that thought to holy crap, I'm over the fence, right? You know
Yeah,
what I mean? It's like, and mom
yeah.
is like, what is going on right now?
And of
Um,
course, my older brother got blamed.
right. It's like you encourage this, right? You know?
Why not?
Right. You know, and I think that's what our life is inviting us to do. One, have fun, right? And laugh. And in those moments, I will tell you, there has been many, you know, difficult, painful steps.
Mhm.
I recognize and aware, and at no point do I want to deny that to be the case, that it's all sunshines and rainbows and all of that. Um, but the one thing that I do know for myself, that whenever I got to a place where I stopped taking steps or making a step, that was the worst feeling for myself. That was that was a sense of, that was failure. That was depression. That was all of those things. That was feeling that everything was collapsing within me. And even in that stage of neutral that I was talking about before, it's it's not stopping. It's a pause. It's awareness. It's a looking around. It's without any expectations, just kind of being that, yeah, this is how I feel about this ending. This is how I feel about that relationship, that job, um that idea, whatever is that, and be with the emotions for that. and allow um, that time to be complete, you know, and the I have been embracing a definition of complete, meaning that because I'm complete, I am open to the next miracle. I've completed something. So now I'm open to the next. And many times I feel when I'm not open to the next, I'm not complete
Yeah.
because there's something that I'm still holding on to. There's something, there's a step that I can't take, right?
Yeah.
Because, whatever, whatever reason it is. And so really, um, completing, completing that is, I think will cause us to go from I'm here to now I'm like running in the field on the other side of the fence, right?
Yeah.
And gone from there.
So I definitely have. So when I was in the Outer Banks, there was 15 people there, including myself. So there's 15 of us, and we were doing our group picture. And one person brought their dog, and I was at the bottom of the step, and I was holding onto the dog,
Hmm.
and the dog didn't want anything to do with the picture. And so as the picture was being taken, my arm was holding the dog, and the dog started twisting, and basically I let go of the dog, and the dog starts running for the street. And so the initial reaction is, God, just keep running after the dog.
Right,
And we're right behind the Hatteras seashore. So if the dog got in the woods, we'd be probably still searching for the dog. So
right,
the dog just took off and start running. But Bill, I was in costume. We were having like a luau kind of night, and
right.
I had these coconuts, making pretend I had a chest and a skirt, and I'm running down the street, and I'm chasing after this dog, and the dog owner's runs past me, and people are beeping and honking and waving, and
It's like,
you know,
what's going on here? Right?
so I took the step to realize, even though I'm dressed up like this, that dog became the priority to make sure the dog
Right,
was safe and everything. And what I learned about that is that, uh, I'm a person that really chases after, to avoid danger
right,
and
mm,
to look out for things.
right,
And I don't care what the circumstances is or how embarrassing it's going to be, or
right.
so the big lesson that I learned there is that, what am I chasing after? What am I
Mm,
running after? Is it a step that I need to just stop and just say, wait, why am I chasing this? Why am I taking a step forward to this when I know it might not be the best step for me?
right. Mm. Yeah, it's like I'm not gonna lie. I'm trying to get the image of you with coconuts and a skirt running after a dog, right? Out of my head, right? So it's like, but there is something to that. There is sometimes when it's we're called to take a step that it doesn't matter because of who we are and what we're up to and what's important to us. We're just moving, we're just
Right.
gone. And I think again it comes back to that little child of I know who I am, I know
Yeah.
what's important to me, I'm taking a step, I'm
Yeah.
going in that direction. And yeah, it is it is great. And like there's there have been moments with tears in my eyes, step by step, right? The
Hmm.
step and just going and just recognizing that um that's what this moment needs, that's what is being asked, that am I willing to take a step not fully knowing. I have a sense. There's many times that I have a sense. This is the direction. And I think the other thing that I have been embracing, that even if I take a step in this direction, I don't have to keep going in that direction, right?
Yeah.
I can take a step in another direction, and it's not that, or I could take a step back, right? I
Yeah.
can, I can do all those things to allow me to let me know that I am still intentionally moving in the direction that I currently believe that's important, that is needed, that um, I don't know, that will give me, a sense, that I'm alive. And I think there has been so many, there's been so many times in my life, in my, 54 years, that the steps that I was taking wasn't, weren't mine, right?
Yeah.
They were other people's, well intentioned, good, there's this belief that this is what I should do, and and found some success in it. But when I had my moment at 47, that it's like, all right, I'm going to need you to be taking some steps here.
Yeah.
What steps are you going to take? In those difficult moments, I realize that there were some steps that I needed to take with um, without this without the cover. I mean, and I think that's, and even that's the book, the children's book that I wrote, Finding You Beyond What Protects You, you know, and
Mm.
that's beyond the shell. That is taking a step
Yeah.
beyond what, and sometimes we think our job was our protection, right?
Yep.
And we realize that, like I said, I'll speak for myself. I, I, I had to have those moments where I had to be reminded that my job wasn't my source. My job wasn't my protection. My job wasn't who I was, but it was just something that I could do. And even though that was a difficult lesson and step to take as to the next thing, it allowed me to really learn more about myself and learn more about the values that I had and how I wanted to show up, in the world. So yeah, that sometimes um, that step or those steps, there's a lesson in every step that we take.
I agree with that, Bill, is, and sometimes we want to step over the lesson,
Mm,
right? We want
got it.
to we want to say, "Oh, I got it," but then we repeat it over and
Hmm.
over again, and people call that our defects,
Hmm.
you know. So, you know, uh, I definitely have made a lot of mistakes and have made a lot of missteps, yet I've also found the detour and I found the way around to get back on course.
Right.
And I was driving down to Florida. It was a Saturday morning to get on a cruise the next day. And there was a horrific accident on 95 in Georgia. And at the time, my spouse was sleeping in the car, and everything came to a screaming stop, a halt, and people started backing up, putting their car in reverse because we were maybe a quarter mile from the exit, the
Mm.
previous exit. So people started backing up, and so I took the step to say, you know what? I want to get to Florida as quickly as possible. I put the car in reverse. She woke up and she goes, "Why are we going reverse on the highway?"
Right.
And I said, "Well, you'll see in a minute." So I finally got to the exit, got off, and we passed over it. And she said, "Oh my God." And you could see the accident. There was
Right.
multiple cars, and it comes to find out that people that were there for 6 hours just sitting
Wow.
there so they could clear out, obviously tend to the accident, but
Right.
also um, get everyone moving again. So the step that I took was, to keep moving forward there.
Right.
And it was a risk. It
Right.
definitely was a
Right.
risk, but um, it worked out. But there have been steps that when I have put in reverse, and still you've run into that your patterns, the
Right.
patterns that say you can't do that.
Right.
No, no, you're not good enough, or those that voice in your head that just says no, we're not doing this.
Right.
And it sometimes you just have to overcome that. and
Right.
and I do a lot of self-talk sometimes and really have to negotiate with Brian
Right.
to say my heart and soul are like, let's do it.
Right.
Let's and the mind's like, no, we've tried this over and over again.
Right.
But they can overcome the mind, and that will of you know wanting to do right
Right.
and making the right step is prevalent in me. And that's how I'm viewing my life now, is that taking that step one step at a time. And sometimes I look behind me and say, that's behind me. Let's
Right.
keep moving. Let's keep moving forward.
Right. Yeah, I totally get that. And because there's this talk of, if I'm going backwards, that's that's wrong. But sometimes you have to go backwards. You have
Yeah,
to put it in reverse to go forward, and to go from there. The last, the I think two around obstacles, right?
yeah,
That
yeah.
conversation. There was a conversation about mistakes.
Hmm.
That was the word. And what came up within that was mistake.
Yeah,
This a mistake. And so this was the plan, but I missed that. But I took it, and there was that take was not the take that I needed, or that I determined that was not good. And it's the same thing for the step. There's a
yeah,
misstep. And I think the one thing that I am getting from both of those, mistake and misstep, is that we're moving,
yeah,
that we're alive. That is the invitation, is to be present to our lives and moving whatever way that we believe that we need to move, so we can be in our life. And sometimes it's back, sideways, or over a fence, right? you know.
exactly. Yep, yeah,
But our life is calling us forward. I think we can talk about this for hours.
yeah.
However, I really appreciate this conversation. Is there anything that you want to leave everyone with?
I think that what I would like to leave with is just my personal, you know, step journey. It's we come into this world, as a baby, obviously, and we obviously take steps as we develop and everything like that.
Mhm.
And you brought up something a little while ago, that little Bill or that little Brian. You
Mhm.
know, it's okay to include them in your steps
Mhm.
forward as an adult. It's okay to get into that inner child and say, to self-parent that child, to
Mhm.
say, because sometimes that inner child is what's keeping us from making those steps as
Right.
well.
Mhm.
Because, that fear, that, the unknown, you know, oh no, I'm not going to have food. I'm not going to have shelter. I'm not going to
Right.
have my mom, you
Right.
know, those types of things. And so it's okay to take the step to connect with that inner child
Right.
and say, I got this.
Right.
I got this. I'll make sure that we do this correctly.
Right.
And
Wow.
what I found is that that really helps me take the steps necessary. And
Mm.
sometimes I do forget that step
Mhm.
because the inner child inside is screaming, "No!" But
Right.
I don't want to do that. And and that's when adult temper tantrums start. And but to include that inner child, I think, is a part of the step process.
Right.
And sometimes that step process, as you mentioned, is just take a step back, take a deep breath, and maybe find another direction to take that next step.
Right. Wonderful. Yeah. Thank you. I heard recently that not just the inner child, but every age that we are, there is an unanswered question. There is an unresolved need that, if we're willing to be there for that person.
Yeah.
So our 30-year-old self, our 10-year-old self, it's like, geez, there's, that's a lot of conversations, but really whoever shows up is inviting you to really show up complete, and enough to handle whatever next step that this life is inviting you. So thank you very much for this conversation. If you can wait, we can say our goodbyes in the green room, but this has been great. Thank you, my friend.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay. Oh, step. I that really hit me. That really got me to realize, and the acknowledgement of the the cards of, I am enough, you are complete, and I think you should just do it. I am enough, you are complete, and I think you should just do it, and take a step. Wherever direction that you feel that you need to go to, take a step. I hope this conversation has brought value to you, not just to your day, but to your life. I invite you to reach out to me at IamWilliamBrown.com, a place to help you be yourself and live your life. The one thing that I do want to share with you as we leave, I am still in a campaign to raise $30,000 for LLS. And that if that is something that you want to save a life, with leukemia or lymphoma, I invite you um, to go to this link and make a donation. I think the campaign is 333 people donating $90, so we can reach that, or whatever feels comfortable to you. So this is our last week to do that. Thank you very much. Because the world wants you, the world needs you, but the world isn't waiting for you. So go be you. Have a great rest of the day, and I'll see you next time on One Word Conversation.